Cholera outbreak hits Sokoto, Jos. Casualties recorded with dozens hospitalized. President Tinubu seeks approval to borrow 1.767 trillion naira for budget deficit. FCT residents accuse FCTA officials, developers, Abuja original inhabitants of corruption in ongoing demolitions. On the international scene, G20 Rio Summit champions global development, climate action, and multilateral reforms. A very good evening and welcome to the News Hour on Trust Television. My name is Sakir Ibrahim. To details now, no fewer than 25 persons have died and several others hospitalized following the outbreak of gastroenteritis, also known as cholera, in Sokoto North, Silame, and Kwari local government areas of Sokoto State. The State Commissioner for Health, Asabe Balarabe, who disclosed this to newsmen in Sokoto, said currently the state is treating 15 victims of the outbreak in Sokoto North, Silame, and Kwari local government areas. According to her, the 15 active cases were diagnosed through laboratory tests based on culture and sensitivity and confirmed to be active cases of the outbreak. She also disclosed that 1,160 people were said to have been affected by the outbreak, lamenting that 25 of the victims have already succumbed to the disease. According to her, the state rescue teams are working in collaboration with the state government to manage and forestall further spread of the dreaded disease.
Hello,
And we now have joining us Dr. Bilyaminu Yari, the Director of Disease Control in Sokoto State. Good evening, Doctor. Welcome to the News Hour. Please paint us an extensive picture of what the situation is and how the state has been reacting to it. Doctor, if you can hear me, can you please paint us a picture of what the current situation is and how the state has been responding to it?
Yeah, actually, good evening all. Actually, the cases of cholera was reported in Sokoto State in October 2014. So initially, Badaba LGS presented with symptoms including severe diarrhea, vomiting, and dehydration. So the outbreak rapidly spread about 17 additional LGS in Sokoto State. So in total, we have 1,231 reported cases in Sokoto State with 71 fatalities, that is CFR 5.8. So the affected population are young children and people with the source of contaminated water were identified as the primary mode of transmission. So immediate response action, including establishment of cholera treatment center of the 18 LGS in Sokoto State. So we distributing oral hydrating salts, conducting awareness campaigns, educate community on preventive measures and hygiene practice. So actually the intake case is 6 year old girls from Badaba LGS, which presented with symptoms around September 26 this year. So suddenly diarrhea and kept bleaching. The patient was drastically taken to the hospital for further medical care. So the effect made by the government actually, we established all the treatment center in the 18 LGS out of 23 LGS we have in Sokoto State. We have 1,231 cases. We have confirmed of 19 cases. Then we have 71 mortalities, and we have 5.8%, that is CFR. So the public health action conducted by the Sokoto State government will make sure that the coordination. So the coordination, weekly EOC, that is Emergency Operation Center meeting, is ongoing. and the National Rapid Response Team deployed from the National Center for Disease Control in spot response activities in Sokoto. So the surveillance will continue with sensitization of the local government surveillance officers to enhance surveillance for cholera, sensitization of health workers in all the 23 LGS in Sokoto State on cholera to improve case identification and early reporting. So actually, active case studies ongoing in the state, affected settlement, leveraging on the WHO field volunteer structure.
Okay.
So we emphasize more the state government distribution of water purification tablets to the affected communities.
All right.
And also collaboration with the Ministry of Environment to improve sanitation and hygiene in the affected areas.
All right.
Also collaboration with the Water Resources Ministry and the Rwanda to improve quality of water in the state. Conducted training of trainers to all the local government evaluation head officers for the local government in Sokoto State on treatment of water sources with chlorine, which is spot from the UNICEF.
All right.
So we will continue the jingles and currently airing in the English and Hausa. Fulfill the spot from the UNICEF.
All right. All right then. Dr. Bilamino Yari, Director, Disease Prevention, Sokoto State, thank you very much for the elaborate update on the situation there.
Thank you very much.
There you have it. Also, one person has been reported killed and more than 60 persons hospitalized following the outbreak of cholera disease in some communities in Kanam local government area of Plateau State. The council chairman, Ayuba Salihu Musa, who confirmed the incident through his media aide, Mazadu Ali, on Tuesday, said the outbreak of the disease began in Ngyang, Kwalmia, Banak and Bakinkogi and later spread to Dengi, the headquarters of Kanam local government area. Ali said more than 60 persons have been hospitalized in Dengi and other private hospitals. According to him, Kanam Local Government Council has taken decisive steps to mitigate the spread of the disease as medical supplies and equipment have been rapidly distributed to key healthcare facilities, including the General Hospital and the Primary Healthcare Center in Dengi, and by the council. He added that the local government has graciously offset the medical bills for all patients receiving treatment, regardless of whether they are admitted to public or private hospitals, ensuring that worried families are not burdened by unexpected healthcare expenses during this challenging time. And President Bola Tinubu has written to the National Assembly seeking approval to borrow 1.767 trillion naira as part of the 2024 Appropriation Act to address the budget deficit. The letter read by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, during Tuesday's plenary session, revealed that the 2024 budget has a 9.7 trillion naira deficit. Here's the report. The proposed loan is aimed at reducing this figure to 8 trillion naira.
I write to request for a resolution of the National Assembly to raise the sum of 1,767,610,321,779 naira, equivalent of 2,209,512,902 at the budget exchange rate of USD 1 to 800 naira.
In a separate correspondence dated November 19, 2024, President Tinubu also transmitted the 2025 to 2027 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper to the National Assembly for legislative review. He urged the lawmakers to expedite consideration and passage of the 3-year financial plan, emphasizing the timely approval would facilitate the preparation of the 2025 federal budget.
As the 2025 budget of the federal government will be prepared based on the parameters and fiscal assumptions of the approved 2025 to 2027, it is imperative to seek the National Assembly's expeditious legislative action on this submission.
Additionally, the President has requested the Green Chamber to pass the National Social Investment Program Agency Establishment Amendment Bill 2024. According to President Tinubu, the amendment seeks to revise the National Social Investment Program Agency Act 2023 and to designate the National Social Register as the primary tool for identifying beneficiaries of the government's social investment programs. This approach, he said, will ensure the social welfare initiatives are data-driven, transparent, targeted, and effective in delivering benefits to vulnerable Nigerians.
The purpose of the bill is to make the National Social Register the primary targeting tool for the implementation of social investment programs of government. This will ensure our social welfare programs are data-driven and implementation processes are transparent, targeted, dynamic, and effective in delivering social protection benefits to vulnerable Nigerians.
The House of Representatives adjourned sitting to attend the valedictory session in honor of late Senator Ifeanyi Ubah. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has condemned the recent attack on unknown gunmen in the Abatete Okpo community of Anambra State on the convoy of Representative Ginger Onsibe. In adoption of a motion of urgent public importance moved by Rep. Uchenna Okonkwo, the House urged the Anambra State government to provide immediate relief and compensation to the victims and their families. It also called for the rebuilding and rehabilitation of the affected areas. Furthermore, the House appealed to community leaders, traditional rulers, and other stakeholders to collaborate with security agencies to identify and address the root causes of insecurity in the region.
As well, recognizing the attack that was done on the convoy of Honorable Ginger Onsibe and leading to the death of some security personnel, the House is deeply concerned about this threat and violence that poses a disruption to peace, social cohesion, and economic development in the region.
In another resolution, the House resolved to launch an urgent investigation into the outbreak of disease at the Kaduna Correctional Facility. In a motion by Representative Umar Ajilo, the House said the aim is to determine the cause of the outbreak, prevent future occurrences, and safeguard the health and well-being of inmates and staff.
Kaduna State Correctional Facility has been splotched by a menstrual disease outbreak, resulting in a significant loss of lives amongst inmate populations. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, these disturbing trends necessitated immediate attention and actions from our esteemed Assembly.
Additionally, the House expressed concern over the non-functionality of 87 skills acquisition centers across the country. This followed the adoption of a motion by Harrison Anozie.
Essential resources and tools for training are often missing or outdated, further hindering their ability to deliver effective vocational skill training.
It directed the Committee on Labor and Productivity to work with the National Directorate of Employment to conduct a comprehensive assessment of the requirements needed to revive these centers. And we have joining us via telephone call Ishao Aliyu, an economist, to give more insight. Ishao, good evening and welcome to the News Hour. So, can you walk us through your first reactions when you heard this development that the federal government, of course via letter to the president, intends to borrow this amount of money, $2.2 billion?
It's not a surprise looking at the very large budget that has been approved by the Federal Executive Council to be submitted to the National Assembly to the tune of 47.9 trillion naira. It's a very huge budget. It is an ambitious budget, and there is need to understand that unless we look into our revenue sources and then target based on our revenues and also looking at the absence of subsidy, we just have to look beyond taking care of our deficit with so much of load.
All right, Isho, don't you, because you mentioned, of course, that the forthcoming budget, talking about the 2025 appropriation bill, it's going to be around some 47.9 trillion, and you described it as a big budget. But don't you think that, on the international, or do I say African scale, this does not seem like one, that's so large, especially considering the fact that countries like South Africa, Kenya, and other East African countries are doing budgets, way above the $100 billion mark. But compared to them, the 47.9 trillion naira just amounts to around 28 to $30 billion. Are we playing on the scale at which we ought to be playing?
Of course, the areas of concern has to do with our revenues and how we use our revenues efficiently. You cannot be generating revenues, fresh revenues, and service your debt. That is the point. That is a very serious issue of concern. And if you cannot compare the economic viability and economic stability of some nation, and then you take a look of your unstable economy. Remember, we have a high percentage of inflation, above 30%. Remember that a contract that can cost Nigeria 155 billion for over 350 kilometers, Abuja Kaduna Kano, is now on a finishing stage, but is costing Nigeria over 740 billion. This is a point at which you look at your revenue, you look at your expenditure, and at the same time you try to limit the extent of additional borrowing, because additional borrowing means additional giveaway of your revenue generated to service current debt liabilities.
All right, Isho. Now, some Nigerians would say, of course, this is sort of the repetitive cycle that which many Nigerians are already used to. Talk about borrowing. During the time of the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, we saw this series of, requests and approvals from the legislative level to the executive. This loans came, expectation for infrastructural development. But then this administration is here. Would you say that they've been ticking the right bells and whistles, to show that expectations that has been put on the government regards to these forms of borrowing would yield the kind of results that Nigerians have been so clamoring for? I mean, because this means that every Nigerian should have some form of debt on his head as it is.
No, you see, the point of concern here is not whether state can borrow or not borrow. State must borrow, but you must look at your revenue projection, revenue generation, new revenues, accruals to the books of account of government, and not only that, you look at how stable your economy is to add to debt liability. Once you get a notice that over 80% of your internally generated revenue is going on debt servicing, the first thing to do is to review the debt profile. And you can only do that when you look at your priorities in the budget, and also you look at your expectation of additional revenue. That is a point of concern. This thing has been going on, and there is no way you can say state cannot borrow, but definitely there is time to borrow, and there is also time to service the liability. That is the point which I personally want to share my opinion on. And if I am to advise, I will have advised, look, is it necessary that we project an expenditure to the tune of 47 trillion?
Yeah.
Is it feasible? And if it is not, why not reduce the content of expenditure so that you can limit the borrowing? These are two ways to contain certain level of commitment, especially in terms of financial discipline of governance and financial discipline of structures of government.
All right. All right, Isho Aliyu, economist, thank you so much for your insights on this development. Do have a good evening.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful.
Yes, and Nigerians have expressed concerns with the increasing rate of demolitions in the Federal Capital Territory, the FCT. While many say the demolitions are in order as they align with the city's master plan, others are attributing it to the widespread corruption within the building sector. Trust TV's Habib Ajayi brings details.
Mona, help me. Make I back my Lord out of this place. I don't know the house. Now they have come. Tell me I come back my Lord. Jesus.
In July 2024, the Federal Capital Development Authority, FCDA, identified 19 new settlements in the FCT and marked them for demolition. Demolitions in the FCT are not a new occurrence, as previous FCT ministers have embarked on the exercise in order to properly delineate areas for planning and development. However, the ongoing and proposed demolitions of various settlements have left many residents on edge.
If you want to do this, at least let him notify us. We know that he is the minister. He's working according to instruction, isn't it? The day he came, he just came on Saturday that they are coming to demolish the place on Monday. So can you tell me how many days interval?
Abuja came and met this community here, and they are supposed to settle this community as every other community. This community has not been settled. The reason is when this community was being, when Abuja was being mapped out, this community was not included in the Abuja map, and it is the evidence is very clear, and the evidence is there. Therefore, we need to be settled, and we are not settled.
Civil society organizations are calling for urgent reforms in the land sector, pointing to the corruption within the FCT authorities, developers, original inhabitants of FCT, and the Abuja Geographic Information System, AGIS.
Where was the government that people have settled in a place that is not legally assigned? It means that the government was sleeping. It means that there is corruption that allows some people to collect money to allow some people to go and settle where they are not supposed to settle. The government is supposed to be updating to make sure that it's monitored, development, and there should be control. We have seen how they have also displaced the indigenes, the original indigenes of the Abuja without proper compensation, and now grabbing their land, selling it into billions of naira without proper settlement of those original inhabitants and even other Nigerians who legally acquire those lands there. So therefore, what FCT minister is doing is nothing but land grabbing.
He advocated for mass housing to alienate the economic impact on residents with a focus on promoting well-structured housing schemes across the country.
It is the FCDA official, the AGs, that need to be interrogated for giving approval to those lands that were purchased or that were obtained officially, and even those houses that were built, approved by the same government. So the official there should be interrogated on why, if there was anything that was done irregularly, why did they allow that to happen? Or it is just a matter of using power to displace the poor people. I think the minister should have actually done a thorough investigation on whose authority those houses or those lands were given. Land administration in Abuja is full of corruption. It is nothing but land grabbing and wickedness of eviction, displacement, and terrorizing, residents.
Meanwhile, efforts to speak with the director FCTA Development Control on the allegations did not yield any positive results. Last week, the minister extended an invitation to some victims affected by the demolition exercise for discussions on potential relocation assistance. Habibat Ajayi, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And the Martin Amewule-led Rivers House of Assembly plans to set aside October 29 as a date to commemorate what it calls unprovoked attacks on the legislature. The Assembly reached the resolution during its plenary at the auditorium of the Assembly quarters in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital. Here's the report.
The lawmakers says every 29th of October would henceforth be used to remember the mindless burning down of the hallowed chamber of the Rivers State House of Assembly a year ago, the attack on the official residence of the Speaker, and the brazen demolition of the Assembly complex. Speaking on the matter at the 68th legislative sitting, the leader, Major Jack, drew the attention of the House to the sad events, particularly the burning down of the chamber of the House on the 29th of October 2023 by some arsonists. Members debated and agreed to set aside the day as an anniversary of attacks on Rivers legislature.
Over a year that the Rivers State House of Assembly hallowed chamber was burnt down by the arsonists. Mr. Speaker, the arsonists are moving freely in Port Harcourt. Everywhere they are moving freely. Though some of them were arrested and taken to court, but none.
The legislature is what differentiates democratic rule from military rule. And so if the legislature is attacked, then there was an attack on democracy itself.
What has happened in the House of Assembly is not for us here, but I know that we have hope. We have hope because this assembly will be vindicated when the time comes. But I know the governor will not go free. For burning that chamber, we will never go free.
Martins Amewule stated that it has been 341 days since Governor Siminalayi Fubara supervised the demolition of the Assembly complex on the 13th of December 2023, without the knowledge and approval of the House. Martins described it as a sad reminder of the brutal attack on the legislature, which he described as a bastion of democracy.
If nothing happens to those who attacked the Rivers legislature on the 29th of October, it will be a shame to this country. In this 21st century, we will have a sitting governor who swore to abide by their constitution, acting in this manner as if there is no law, as if there is no constitution, as if no one can hold him to account.
The House further directed Julius Berger PLC to carry out remedial repairs on the collapsed sections of the alternate routes to the Port Harcourt Ring Road. Debating on the report of the House Committee on Works, members commended the committee for the detailed report and urged the committee to follow up.
And Vice President Kashim Shettima on Tuesday joined senators in the upper chamber of the National Assembly to pay glowing tribute to late Senator Ifeanyi Ubah. Ubah, who died on July 26 in the United Kingdom, represented Anambra South Senatorial District in the 9th and 10th Senate. Here's the report.
Before the commencement of the valedictory section, the remains of late Ubah were laid in state at the foyer of the Senate chamber. Wife, children, and relatives of the late senator were present at the section. Also present were the former governor of Anambra State and former Minister of Labour, Chris Ngige, wife of the President of Senate, Nneoma Akpabio, and wives of other lawmakers. Shettima, in his tribute, said the late Ubah's generosity knew no bounds, describing him as a good man.
His bridge-building capacity elevated his political journey beyond older and more established giants in the arena. And he was easily on his way to bigger conquests when the Lord called him home.
Lawmakers took turns to eulogize the late senator, saying his sad demise is a huge loss not just to his state, but the country at large.
But we must accept the will of God. It's not our will, it's His will. Because Ifeanyi Ubah was a very pleasant person in the 9th Senate. We are, first of all, we are in anger, very disappointed. But we took solemn in the injunction from the Bible that God was life We must take lessons from life of Ifeanyi Uba. He was full of life, much younger than many of us in this Senate. But because we all go to God and go back to him at his own time.
In his tribute, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, condoled the family of Uba, describing him as an accomplished businessman and consummate politician.
Within the short span of life that he lived, he made impact on the lives of thousands of people. A notable scholar, Ajayi Abimbola, once averred that a life is never productive until it makes an impact on the lives of others.
Late Senator Ifeanyi Uba was a member of the All Progressive Congress (APC) and chairman, Senate Committee on Petroleum Downstream until his death.
To other stories now. In a country grappling with rising inflation, job losses, and an ever-increasing cost of living, you might think that indulgence is a luxury most Nigerians cannot afford. But here in Abuja, at the famous Yehuza Suya spot, the story is different. In the face of economic hardship, Yehuza Suya spot is a proof that Nigerians know how to find light even in the darkest times, as Noah Samson reports.
In today's tough economic climate, you might expect a popular Suya spot in Abuja to be quiet. Its grease barely sizzling, but when we visited this bustling spot twice, once in the afternoon and later at night, we found a different story entirely. Both times, the place was packed, buzzing with people from all walks of life, indulging in a little escape from life's challenges. Curious to know why? We spoke to some of the customers who shared their reasons for choosing this Suya heaven despite the pinch of rising costs. Their answers painted a picture of resilience and the unspeakable Nigeria love for good food.
The pocket friendliness alone, I think it's been average in the number of years thus far. I think I just had to discover today that their prices changed after a while and it's still affordable for anybody that walks into Yehuza Suya. I believe that's personal because for you to come to Yehuza Suya, definitely you know what you're coming in for. And I want to believe their chicken, their beef suya, I think their gizzard tongues and even their masa. Everything they have is actually top notch.
Price is okay and the environment, you ease the stress of the day's activities. Oh yes, of course, I will, because it's a place that apart from taking a rest, relax, you could have a meeting.
They are progressing they have progressed already from the traditional means of selling suya to the contemporary means of selling suya.
Yehuza isn't just about food, it's an ecosystem. Vendors selling drinks and snacks thrive alongside the suya business, creating a lively marketplace.
Come here with your 2,000 naira, 1,000 naira, you eat your suya, satisfy you go back. But now, what we said before at the rate of 1,000 is at the rate of 3,000 now. What we sell at the rate of 3,000 before is at the rate of 6,000 now due to the situation in the country.
Yes, from 2,500 to above. We have 2,500, we have 3,000 to above, you understand? We even have 12,000. Yes, that's the price. And we had different curriculum up to, you understand?
Because of Yehuza Suya, everybody come buy me plum, fruits, everything, because plenty people come here. So even my car, inspiration, good one, everything I have it, plum, grape, banana, everything I sell here. Because
Suya is more than just food, it's part of a culture. The local take on the classic barbecue or steak has been a favorite for generations. But beyond the smoky aroma and the irresistible spice, suya offers more than just a tasty bite. Red meat, the core ingredient of suya, is packed with health benefits. It's a protein powerhouse, crucial for muscle and bone health. It helps repair and grow muscles, boosts immunity, and tackles iron deficiency. Perhaps that's why, despite the economic squeeze, Nigerians still flock their favorite suya spots in droves. It's not just about food, it's about nourishing the body and lifting the spirits, one delicious, spicy bite at a time. Noah Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Interesting report there from Noah Samson. Also, air travelers have expressed concerns over rising flight delays, lamenting that their experiences with the domestic and international airlines have not been palatable. They said airlines must live up to expectations in terms of timely and efficient communication with passengers when their flights are expected to be disrupted for safety reasons. Trust TV's Abdulatif Aliyu brings details.
Over time, the issue of flight delays and cancellations have become a recurring decimal in the aviation industry. With every delay, passengers continue to express frustration over their experiences with various airlines. Apart from flight delays and cancellations, cases of missing baggages too have been one of the many complaints against airlines. Most of the passengers who spoke with Trust TV News at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport advised airlines to improve on their customer service and minimize delays as much as possible.
They are cancel passengers' flight without any prior announcement. They will just cancel it, and you just came to the airport, you become stranded. For instance, I am from Yobe State. I came here to take a flight to Nairobi, then from there to Cape Town, and eventually my flight was cancelled. So I was stranded at the airport, and it's because government is not doing anything, including the domestic and the international flights.
In most cases, when flights are changed, there's no prior notification. You just move ahead with the initial arrangement, only for you to get to the airport and you are told the flight timing is altered, and is on that spot. You are just getting to know. A lot could be done if flight timing can be changed, but those that are expected should be well informed ahead of time.
So we left Abuja 1:30 a.m. to arrive Lagos 2:30 a.m. this morning. That was a flight that was scheduled for 6:30 p.m. yesterday. Meanwhile, this same ticket I'm talking about here has been with me for the past 3 months. Keep cancelling, opening, closing, opening and reopening, revalidating and all of that. As I speak to you, I still have some tickets lying down with me. Some meant to go to Kanu, they are still there with me. Maybe any of them I have a opportunity, I can reopen them and all of that. So it's been a recurrent decimal. I don't know how we're going to go out of this.
The Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA, the apex regulatory body in the aviation industry, is not unaware of the challenges facing air travelers. This is why it continues to educate passengers to be conversant with their rights and obligations. The NCAA Director of Public Relations and Consumer Protection, Michael Achumugu, during a roadshow to educate air passengers, said airlines have a responsibility to provide the best service to the travelers. He said in the cases of missing luggages, for instance, airlines are mandated to pay 10,000 naira to passengers on a domestic flight and $117 on an international flight.
We are here to discourage unruly passenger behavior at the terminals. No matter what the provocation is, no matter the disruption, take your time, report to the NCAA, and your rights will be protected. Remember that the NCAA has consumer protection officers across 23 terminals in Nigeria. So right there at the terminal where you feel dissatisfied with the service you've been offered, locate our NCAA officers. They are now uniformed, as you can see, easily identifiable, and they work for you. They will protect your rights at all times.
The aviation industry in Nigeria is indeed a part of the global aviation ecosystem and must strive at all times to operate within the realm of the standard and recommended practices by the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO. Therefore, enforcing the rules relating to customer protection is paramount to making air transportation more seamless and efficient for the passengers.
And people living with disabilities in Bauchi State have expressed satisfaction with the construction of user-friendly reference public toilets geared towards addressing the challenges of accessing restrooms in public places. They made their feelings known during the commissioning of modern toilet facility at the famous Wunti Market as part of the 2024 World Toilet Day commemoration. Trust TV's Adam Wiman completes the report.
People with special needs within Bauchi Metropolis express confidence that this effort made by the Water Aid Nigeria in collaboration with state government in reducing the plight of the needy will not go unnoticed. Asmawi Yahya and Ilya Ismail are among the first people living with disabilities to witness the commissioning of the facility.
Well, our situation, as I tell you, that the toilet is user-friendly, so it has ramp, which is accessible for wheelchair users. So it has a handrail that we can hold for aged people, for physically challenged, so we can use it with ease without having much difficulties.
And even the toilet apartment are too narrow for a wheelchair user to navigate, and also a lot of things are not considered. But after a series of engagement, roundtable meeting with all the stakeholders and people with disability being part of them, all our contributions are now being captured, and you can see a friendly toilet.
Meanwhile, Water Aid Nigeria and other sanitation and hygiene donor partners, as well as state agencies, have reassured their commitment towards addressing the gaps in the water sector through inclusiveness.
At large. In Nigeria, over half of the population lacks access to decent toilet. This stark reality compromises health, hinders economic growth, and denies millions of the right to dignity. The urgency to address this challenge cannot be overstated.
User-friendly toilet reference model constructed by Water Aid in partnership with the Pacific. Today, Tuesday, 19th November 224. May it benefit the immediate environment in which it is constructed.
Community leaders, women, and market groups also appreciated the gesture while expressing their commitment to safeguarding the new edifice for the benefit of all. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
You're still watching the News Hour on Trust Television. Let's now join Yusuf Akogo for business news.
The average revenue per user for Nigeria telecommunication companies has declined by 40.87% to $1.85 in the quarter ending September 2024, compared to $3.12 in the same period in 2023. This underscoring negative impact of weakening naira on the sector. According to financial reports, MTN Communications and Airtel Nigeria experienced ARPU drop to $2.09 from $3.24 and $1.60 from $3 respectively. In the period under review, MTN Nigeria service revenue grew by 33.6% to 2.4 trillion naira in the 9 months ending September 2024. While Airtel Nigeria's revenue decreased by 46.87% to $755 million. Nigeria is now one of the lower performing countries regarding telecom profitability in dollar terms. The Canadian government has announced an additional $20.5 million in funding over the next 5 years to support Francophone and Anglophone minority communities to foster inclusive labor markets. This minority community includes English speakers in Quebec and French speakers outside Quebec, or individuals who are non-Caucasians in race, or non-white individuals such as Black Canadians. This new allocation to Enabling Fund for Official Language Minority Communities program was highlighted by Minister of Employment, Workforce Development and Official Language, Radin Boissonot. With this boost, the Enabling Fund, which had already secured an investment of $74.5 million for 2023 to 2028, will now total $95 million. This funding supports 14 organizations across Canada, ensuring each province and territory has one Francophone and one Anglophone organization. The latest funding commitment reaffirms the government's dedication to fostering the diversity and vitality of Canada's official language minority communities. Stock market rises on Tuesday as all share index gained 0.21% to close in the green. Topping the gainers table today is WAPCO. WAPCO gained 10% to close at 50 naira and 60 kobo per share. Unilever Nigeria PLC gained 10% to close at 26 naira and 95 kobo per share. Unicel also recorded 9.94% gain to close at 14 naira and 49 kobo per share. Of course, this has pushed up the index up by 0.21%. Volume of trade 321.89 billion shares, value at 6.27 billion naira in a list of 9,021 did exchange hands among investors today. The top trading equities by volume, we have Access Corporation 37.8 million shares, Japo Gold 26.5 million shares, and of course Champ PLC 23.66 million shares. There are some equities recorded losses. Leading the losers today is PZ down 9.82% to close at 22 naira and 50 kobo per share. TPLC also down 8.70% to close at 2 naira and 10 kobo per share. There, of course, Bega Nigeria PLC down 7.71% to close at 17 naira and 10 35 kobo per share. And that's the highlight of stock trading as it went down this Tuesday on the floor of NGS. Let's see the global stock market and exchange rate data for today. Oil prices slip on Tuesday, pressured by the restart of production at Norway's Johan Sverdrup oil field, although investors' caution arising from fears of an escalation in the Russia-Ukraine war limited the decline. At the London market, Brent crude sells for $72 a barrel. For the pay basket, dealers pay $71 per barrel. And that's business. I am Yusuf Akogu.
And to other news now, the G20 summit on November 18 to 19 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, will highlight critical global challenges including poverty, hunger, sustainable development, and energy transitions. Under Brazil's presidency, the summit is set to integrate climate action with social and economic priorities, earning it the moniker Climate G20. Coinciding with the closing week of COP29, the summit presents an opportunity for discussions on climate finance, reforms to multilateral development banks, the phasing out of fossil fuels, and advancing renewable energy transitions. This year's summit also marks a history in the milestone with the African Union becoming a full G20 member, reinforcing calls for equitable climate adaptation and mitigation efforts. Brazil's presidency has advanced international taxation discussions targeting the ultra-wealthy to boost climate finance and proposed a roadmap for MDB reforms aimed at addressing the global debt crisis. However, progress is hindered by resistance from powerful nations benefiting from the current global economic hierarchy. Time now to join Adeniyi Ajishafe for sports news.
African Scrabble champion Timileyin Doku reasserted his status as the #1 player at the national level, defeating African youth champion David Orji in a win-and-takes-all final round on table 1, 480 to 475. Doku recorded 14 wins and 4 losses to win the 5th Janet Adowe Scrabble Championship in Lagos. Day 1 leader Joseph Okere lost his position, tumbling after 5 successive defeats, which ended his hope of solid status as Doku, Jimo, and Orji rolled into the equation with more points in the final 18 round. An evening of eye-catching Scrabble showdown threw up Doku and Orji as top 2 contending players for the title. The World Warriors vied on table 1 for the top prize, which had African champion Doku pull his weight with the experience to narrowly edge Orji to second position on cumulative points of plus 1,077 to plus 971 to claim the title after both recorded 14 wins, same as Jimo, who came third with a cumulative point of plus 658. In the best intermediate category, Okere won the level while Khalil Adedeji and Sunday Tua came second and third. Policeman James Eteng was rated top in the best open player, while Isidon Imowean and Awonusi Peter ranked second and third respectively. The best veteran player, Dokueson, won in the men's category with Adebisi Adekansi emerging as the best female veteran Scrabble athlete. Young Scrabble players like 14-year-old Sophia Akeruche and Liu Abduludus alongside winner Doku spoke on the Scrabble tournament.
Very hard. Hopefully the fact that I'm an open player and being my first time also. Very complicated actually. Like, it was very competitive because even sometimes when you would have thought you won the game already and somebody's giving you last minute premium. That is very complicated. But at the same time, very interesting also.
I played many top players I play man and learn a lot from them. They show me some mistake I made too, and I learned from that. They commended me too that I played well.
I guess I got lucky and things went my way. Yeah. I mean, I just try to take my mind off that. In the end of the day, yeah, it doesn't really matter too much. I'm just here to play, yeah, to have fun.
JMC organizer, engineer Bikeme Adowe, in honor of his mother, commended participants while emphasizing on taking Scrabble development to enviable height.
But at the end of the day, we recognize those in different categories based on their ratings and reward them for various prizes. So it gives that confidence, you know.
President, Nigerian Scrabble Federation, Olobatuke Aka, praised the former Lekki Scrabble Club president, whose support for Scrabble has been outstanding.
They are all here in this tournament, and all the top-rated players in the country are here. So you must know that it's a tournament of a very high standard. I'm talking about standards.
The 5th JMSC Games streamed live attracted young players, top and new players from the Southwest, South-South, Kwara, and Kaduna State. That's Sport News. I'm Adeni Ajisabe.
And with that, we wrap up the news hour on Trust Television. Do not forget to follow us across all of our social platforms and catch our live stream on YouTube and Facebook for more news programs and documentaries. My name is Sagir Ibrahim. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.